bedankt sich und sagt auf Wiedersehen.
Die geschätzte Reisedauer liegt bei 14 Tagen, 2 Stunden und 34 Minuten. Kann ich sonst etwas für dich tun?
Nein, danke.
Joe, da wir die nächsten 2 Wochen miteinander verbringen werden, wieso erzählst du mir nicht etwas von dir?
Keine Chance.
Ich kann besser auf deine Bedürfnisse reagieren, wenn ich mehr über dich weiß.
Oh, ich kann selbst ganz gut auf meine Bedürfnisse reagieren, aber danke der Nachfrage.
Gerade kommt eine Verkehrsmeldung durch, die unsere Route betrifft.
Was so good. I was drawn in from the very beginning with like the ship welcome system welcoming us to the ship, and like I just knew that something was going to happen the way that he was like, oh, find the fastest route, and even though it was just like this one character all by himself in the spaceship with just the computer to talk to, I thought that the emotion that was captured between what he would be experiencing in that situation was really well done. And
this one was above all very original. I really enjoyed it. The effects were not over the top, and it was very well done. You can really think you are in this spaceship, and the story and the tragedy behind it was very well presented. It was sad and ironic, and I didn't like it, but I mean, for the character, I feel for him. The plot was outstanding, and I really enjoyed this mixing of the story with the very human feeling of betrayal, and I really liked it. It was amazing.
This was so fantastic. I was so invested in Joe's story, and the whole idea of being alone in a space shuttle makes me nervous on a good day, but in particular for the exact reasons that Joe experienced, which is something malfunctioning and no one being there to fix it. And I would love to see a sequel to this and see how he copes with his life back on Earth.
I really enjoyed this one. I think it did everything really well. The acting's really good. The fact that it's all shot in one room and it's done in an interesting way is really impressive. Looks like they spent the budget where it was most useful, creating that environment and some of the user interface things that we see. It's all done. It's really sleek. It's set in the future, but it doesn't try to go overboard with that. I laugh a little bit at the fact that even so far into the future, we're still having privacy issues with the software we use, but I think it was just delightful all around. Honestly, I loved everything about this one. From the problem that's right in front of Joe to this sort of overarching relationship he's got with the woman in the video, the way that was all revealed at the end, and yeah, I thought it was really good.
I thought that through and through this film was very sound. I really appreciated the visual effects, the sound effects, the production design. I think overall all these things just had a really professional look and feel, and so I wanted to make note of that because I didn't want your hard work to go unnoticed. I imagine it took some time to just build the ship itself, so that was really neat. And I think that overall there was no plot holes, and it was easy to follow, but yet complex enough to keep me interested. So, great work.
It's a very clever idea of how to create a sci-fi environment without having to spend a lot of money. It's all basically happens on one set, which is hard to keep an audience attention. To do that without some good writing, some good events that happen to create some tension, and it's kind of an acting tour de force to kind of have to do all that stuff on your own. It's kind of like the way Tom Hanks had to do with Castaway. Thank you.
An interesting piece. It kind of reminded me of Moon. I'm not sure if you've seen that with Sam Rockwell, but it's kind of similar in that it exists in a space setting with one person who's carrying the entire piece and kind of having to deal with survival and the powers at hand, and kind of, you know, like this piece does a really good job with kind of the inherent conflict of sci-fi, where it's like, what is human at the base of all of this, you know. And I thought this character it was really well written. The filmmaker did a really great job at exploring this perspective. And yeah, I enjoyed it a lot, and I hope that the filmmaker continues to make work that is as successful as this. So, great job.
I thought that this was really interesting, that there was only like one person, but two characters. So because the ship itself is such an important character, the dialogue had to be really, really strong, and the kind of rapport and what the actor himself, like what Joe is giving off, like with his like body language and facial expressions and things, had to be pretty on point, because he didn't have another person to kind of act off of, and so you kind of had to believe the relationship between the two and kind of how they flowed, and like they did build a rapport between Joe and I'm forgetting her name, but Joe and the computer, Deborah, throughout the film. So I thought that was super well done, because it's definitely not an easy thing to have happen believably. So having Joe and this computer have like a believable rapport and like have dialogue that flowed so well between them was super impressive.
I like the personalities that the writer gave Deborah and Joe. The tension was real and the set was credible. The ending was really creepy and gave me the impression that Deborah went rogue and crashed the ship herself to keep Joe with her, which might have been the case. Overall, the plot was not lacking at all in the slightest. I got a kick out of this one.
It's an interesting vision about relationships in a futuristic future. Very futuristic.
But I thought this film was really well done. I thought it was a good script, good acting, good premise. I thought it was well done all around. And I thought it was really interesting twist at the end with the end of the video from his wife or girlfriend or whatever. I thought it was an interesting twist. So good job on this one. I really enjoyed it.